Yo guys, bro Rex D21 today here guys, and today I am going to help you learn what in the world happens to Wayne that allows his hair to change color. You're probably just going, oh my god. Today I'm going to finally explain it, how it actually affects him. So it doesn't affect him like in a bad way, but I mean like if his body, if it like strains his body, yeah, but it does strains his body, basically affecting his muscles, poisoning it. But that's a whole different topic, and that's only when he's poisoned. But today we're gonna explain how in the world does that affect his cells. I mean, like, it's basically like just corroding his cells to this, but still only when he's poisoned it corrodes his cells. Today we're gonna explain how it changed his hair color. So on the basic, this is his blood cell. I'm not gonna explain it. It's just a red blood cell, as long with every other cell in his body. This is the depiction of every single cell. And I'm not gonna go like, why don't you draw every other cell? I'm not a good drawer. I'm just showing you, and I'm just saying this red circle is an example of every single cell he has. It's not actually. If you actually watch the show, it actually shows you a part of the inside of Wayne's body, brutally showing you what his cells being poisoned. But what I am going to show you is like this. Since this is already the color, I'm going to start with orange, his first hair color of his form. This is to say that this is like a liquid chemical that releases inside of his body. It's like a chemical that releases inside of the blood of his own body, and it is produced by, at first it is produced by anger. This chemical is at first produced by anger, so the more angry he gets, the more it produces. So like with Wayne being emotionless at the near like the middle of the show, people said that it's gonna be harder for him as this chemical, which we will call I guess Metreon cells, started to deplete. But that was only off later, cause based on his anger, this man has so much. And when I mean so much, I mean like it basically controlled his whole system by that much. So what I'm trying to get right here is saying you this. How did it affect him? Basically, it just did this. It just supered up his cell, like supersized it to be like a mighty strong guy. Really strong. I mean. So what I'm trying to get at over here is that basically it didn't just supersize the cell. The chemical basically was like a parasite that he produced it on his own. It started to take over the cell, but instead of taking nutrients from it, it actually provided more nutrients, allowing it to become that supersized cell. Also protecting it from any baddies that entered its body, basically just destroying it. But that's not what I'm trying to get at here. It didn't just affect his blood cells or his white blood cells. It affected his whole cells, just turning it all orange. But not all of his cells, more like his hair, the cells in his hair, the cells in his eyes, the cells in his muscles, not turning them orange, but supersizing them, like making them stronger. And the same as that thing happened with, I guess, his other form, Spirit Metreon. But that is kind of different because that's a god form. But it's pretty much kind of the same. But now let's really get on Spirit Metreon. And also, but before we really get on to Spirit Metreon, let's get on to this. Let's get on to Metreon 2. It basically did the same thing, except for now he didn't actually have to have the cell produced from anger. Because there was a different ways to produce it. It did kind of evolve anger, but instead of it taking over just his hair and all that, it did affect his ki, turning his whole ki from a normal clear self to it not brown but yellow. But also it was kind of different because it like captured the cell inside of like this like force field like crap, and like instead of making it like supersizing it, it kind of produced its own self, like copy and cloned its own self from his cells, and allowed those cells to roam through his body. But it didn't affect his skin cells and like his physical skin. It still affected his eyes and his hair and his muscles, and it really did help in that bed with his girl. But it copied and cloned its own cells. Now with God DNA inside of his body, the black and white thing is the example of the cell. Now this worked it completely different. Instead of it like copying and cloning its own cell, it destroyed the cell and implanted, right before it officially destroyed the cell, it implanted its own part inside of the cell, turning it into a half of his cell and more kind of 1/3 of his cell and 2/3 of the God's DNA cell. And that really kind of is just wrong with that DNA. But if that never happened, he would have never beat it, Duke, and he would have never beat it a lot of highly godlike people up in the show. And Metreon 3, it doesn't really work as different as Metreon 2. So when we saw that the red Spirit Metreon pretty much works the exact same way, but that's all. So I just explained how it works. Metreon 2 like copies and clones its own cell from the certain cells I described: hair, eyes, and muscles. Also supersizing those cells, protecting them from any type of bacteria in the body and all that. But there was this one cell that basically was like a Pac-Man, just eating those cells and using what they did to make itself much better and bigger and evolve. It even destroyed half of Wayne's body, and we even saw he was losing like fat mass. Not fat mass, because he didn't really have fat, more like muscle mass. He was really weak, and that was the only cell, but it was from the poison, and was the only cell, and until he went to his god form, which basically turned the cell into like a special kind of breed which roams around in his body now as like a toddler, as like a little baby now. A little baby cell that just eats up the bacteria that's bad in his body. It was destroying his body. So we really need to thank that God DNA. It might seem harsh destroying the cells and affecting it, destroying it, and turning it, half of it into itself, more 2/3 of itself, implanting 2/3 of itself into the cell, destroying 2/3 of it, and leaving only 1/3 left. We still to be happy that what it did to that freaking monster in Wayne body. Turn it to a little baby cell that ate the bacteria around his body. But that's all, and that's all you need to know. So until next time, this was BroSchoolXD21 explaining the Metreon and Ashblock cells. And since I didn't get on to Final Metreon because it basically worked as Metreon, that's why I didn't get on to Final Metreon. And Final Frontier is basically how the God DNA works. That's all. Till next time. But I did forget to tell you this. The God DNA cells did not like literally destroy it and implant itself inside of it forever. It just like temporarily did that, and once he untransformed, it slowly repaired itself. Not painfully, but more like he'll get random scratches inside of his body. That's what I wanted to tell you. And also, I will get on to the techniques later.